Hey there, YouTube land. Big Dave here. We're on the fishing channel and having some coffee Sunday morning, sending out a little love. So I brought my bag in yesterday because some of my spinners were banged up and bent, and I had to. In fact, one of them was jammed up under a big rock, and when the tide got low, I had to go. I went and found it. Actually, used my 20-foot pole to bring it back. And I needed to just clean it up and dress it. So I said, okay, let's talk about some of these spinners I've had for a long time. I have new ones, but these are the ones I use in the river because the river is like a disaster. So I don't want to use all good new stuff in there. I've been using these. This is probably 10 years old, this spinner. And what I do is like the original hooks that come on these, this is how they come with the black hooks, and then they rust out because the water's brackish stuff. So, and these tend to get hung up in the rocks and stuff, and then they get all bent up. So then I have to re-straighten these, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But after the hook is no good, I leave the bucktail on, like this, and then I use a split ring, and I put on a saltwater hook. And then that eliminates that whole problem. But I do leave the bucktail. They still work fine. And then make sure the shaft is straight. If the shaft is not straight, and if the blade is not straight, then you're going to have trouble. And it's not going to spin around. These are number 5. These are the Aglias. Mepps. This is what I use in the river a lot. And they take good fish, you know. These just work. Anyway, I mean, I use other stuff too, but these are like my go-to. And you see what happens. This is all from the rocks because the whole bottom has got all junk and rocks and stuff. So this is another one I replaced with a saltwater hook. Left the bucktail, stainless ring, and then I just make sure these are flat. Now this one is actually original. It's okay. That's how it comes more or less. Maybe the end I straighten very slightly with the needle nose pliers. And this is the pliers I usually use for the spinners. Channel locks. These are 8-inch and they come to a pretty good point. And if I have to go across the spinners, you can use this for other blades too. But the thing is that you can kind of even see if it's level or not by just putting it on the plier, because it's big enough to hold the blade. And then I make my adjustments on the edge if I need to. And the other thing I do is if a pressure treated piece of lumber, and let me just put this up on top of this for now so you can see it. What I'll do is I'll put the blade up on top of the pressure treated lumber and see if it's flat or not. And if it's not flat, I can start, I'll hold it down with something, usually the end of the pliers, and then I can tap it out with another piece of wood and try to make it back to the flatness that it was originally. Now, sometimes if it's really bent off to the side, you have to put something underneath the one side, like a plastic or credit card size kind of thing, and tap the other side to make it balance out again. So these really take a beating. I mean, this one's really beat up, and I've straightened this a number of times already. But you see, it's still pretty straight, right? So let me just pick up my other iPad here because I thought. Let me see if I can do this really quick. And for some reason, it's sticking. Let's see. Okay. All right. So just here's some fish, different little things, quick stories. You know, carp on corn. That's a pretty good carp. That's about 8 pounds. That carp. This is like a goldfish, big goldfish. It's not really a carp. That was on corn also. And here's some bass. These are mostly on Berkeley power worms. 7-inch, maybe 9-inch. Now there's striper. This is 2016, and you can see it's actually this lure right here. It's this lure. That's the lure, and that striper's 35.5 inches out of the river, and happily took the so just about 3 foot, right? Just shy of 3 foot. It was about a 1/2 inch from the 3 foot mark. There's just a Yuzori worm or something we're using. Most of my bass I catch on the worms. Almost all these are on worms. And we're just kind of running through these. These are some decent bass. I'm up north, I'm in New Jersey. So for New Jersey, these are pretty good bass. Some of these are, now that's a skinny guy. I don't know what happened there. Malnutrition, or maybe it was a female that just got rid of all its eggs. I don't know. Something happened. But I have a bunch of these. These are just some of the better fish. And there's another striper. This is only last week. And this is 26 inches out of the river. And this is on the chrome spinner. So this is the spinner, the one I lost and had to retrieve. But these are all released, these fish, right away. I don't keep fish. These are immediately released. I don't even use barbs, actually. I just want to get them going. This carp was 12 pounds. I didn't take it out of the water, except for the, I weighed it on the scale and put it right back in the water. Because I was in the mud and the water. So, I never took it out, except I did weigh it because it was pretty big. It was just about 12 pounds. I think like 11.8, something like that. That was on corn and cartoons. Okay, so there's some fish, and they're not from all this year. They're just different years. I just have them all together in an album, some of the better fish. But these things produce, I catch a lot of things on these spinners in the river. It's brackish water. This is another really good lure that I use, and I only have one of them. They're not that easy to come by. This is a Bill Dance, and it's a Excalibur poppin' image, they call it, This is original. The only thing is I have one of the legs cut off of these. So it's just 2, and the barbs are crushed down, just so I can release faster. But I caught 2 decent bass on this week, plus a striper in the river. So in the pond, I caught a couple bass. It's not really a pond. It's like it's kind of like a pond, And I just was using this by accident because I went to get my lure. And I just brought this with me in case I brought a big 20-foot retrieval pole that I have. But I brought this just in case I had to throw a line out and try to, just drag my lure in. But I ended up fishing with it, so I threw it around and ended up catching striper, 18 inches, something like that, And so that's it. So that's what we're talking about today. Straightening your spinners. That's it. They got to run straight. If they're not running straight, then there's trouble. They're not going to run good in the water. And you're going to have trouble catching fish because they're not going to vibrate the way they're supposed to. And when they're vibrating, the fish pick it up on their lateral line or whatever, and they have a sense that, okay, something's happening. So if they don't, especially the water where I am is in the river is like muck, like you can't even see in there. It depends on the weather. If the mud kicks up and it all starts, there's no visibility. So you're relying on something that's, vibrating or splashing. That's another reason why the popper was working. Actually, the water was pretty good yesterday. You could see a little bit in the water. So there it is. And I said before, these are pretty good for lures. You can get these, hardware store or the big box places. They last really long, and they're good for lures because they have the more pointy end, and plus you can cut stuff. And channel locks. I think these are 8-inch. Right? Okay. So that's it. Listen, enjoy your Sunday and go get some. See that? My iPad crashed. And so get out there and get some tight lines and all that stuff. All right. Have a good day. Bye bye.